welcome back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.
And remember, our goal is always to guide you to personal and financial wealth.
Well, we thank you for coming back to the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show. With Don Gatling here, Gino's off this week, but I have an incredible co-host. If you haven't listened to the first segment, you're going to want to listen to a good thing. We record these with HD cameras, YouTube, you name it. You can find out more at donandgino.com or join us for the last three segments of the show today with Chris Ingram with Ingram Financial Solutions. This show has already started off on fire, talking about the potential correction. Unless you're under a rock, you know that the stock market and S&Ps are some of the highest levels we have ever seen, which has a lot of you concerned. And maybe you should be. We just, right before break, I asked Chris, what do you think a correction could be? Yes, could it be 5%? He said it could be as high as 15 to 20%. What does that mean to you as an investor? So who should watch out for that, Chris?
So I talk about this a lot in a lot of our different shows, revolving around different topics. But I talk a lot about, age, risk tolerance, time horizon. Your decision making when you get into these types of market environments are going to be drastically different depending on how old you are, how soon you're going to need that money or access to that money, and what your overall risk tolerance and feeling about fluctuations in your portfolio are. And I think I say that a lot, and people think, well, yeah, I mean, obviously, if I'm in my 20s and I have 30 years until retirement, I don't have to worry about the volatility, but I'm 10 years away from retirement, so it's probably more of a concern to me.
True.
And so I go back to those people and say, well, it's still 10 years. The average bull market lasts about 10 months. I think the 2008 was about 17 months. 2000 to 2002 was the longest on record. I think it was something like 29 months.
Because it came from the bottom of the depths of humanity.
And it started with a tech bubble, and then September 11th pushed it even further. It was just, it was such a drawn out bear market. I think I said bear market. So average bear market last 10 months, just to clarify. Typically in a 10-year period, there's lots of recovery in there. So even if you're 10 years away from retirement,
right,
it might not be time to panic over a correction in the market. The people that should really be concerned about corrections in the market are the people that are currently retired. So if you're retired and you're living off of the income from your portfolio, taking money out of your account at the same time that your account is losing lots of value can have a pretty significant impact on the long-term performance of your portfolio.
Absolutely.
The longevity of that money. So those are the people that want to make sure that, hey, if a correction is coming, I'm in a nice properly structured allocation on the more conservative side to make sure that I can weather the storm of a correction.
So there is ways to protect yourself some, even with a correction.
Correct. Now, the retiree should probably already be in that allocation because they're pulling money from their account. They should already be on the more conservative side. But what's happened over the last 9 years or so is people have seen the market doing well, and so these retirees have increased their aggressiveness. They've bought Apple, they've bought Google, they own Facebook, and they've gone a little bit more and more towards the aggressive side. Now's a great time to reassess that allocation and make sure that you are properly allocated to be able to weather a correction.
So
in a
maybe
retirement
that
account.
was, okay, good. You were able to ride the wave, but now protect yourself a little bit. That doesn't mean that the market couldn't continue to ride, but there's stages at this stage, like if you were to lose, I'm sure you do this for your clients, Chris, as you look at it and go, if it did go down by this much, here's how it would change your portfolio or your lifestyle.
Right. I do a retirement projection and say, according to your current values, this is where I see you at the end of your lifetime through retirement. If all of a sudden there was a correction of this size and it had this kind of impact on your money and your portfolio, this is the change it would do to you long term. And do you run out of money, or do you have a lot less money to pass on to your children? What is the impact that it would have on you? And if it's significant enough, then hey, maybe we should start thinking about dialing it back a little, being a little bit more
It's different when you
conservative.
see the numbers.
Right.
Because hypotheticals, you're like, I don't know how that affect me. And all of a sudden you go, okay, you're living off just round numbers, $4,000 a month, and that's going to become $2,500
Right.
because of the reduction. Or now you have money to be 73 and you're hoping to live to be 83, that might be a problem.
Right, yeah. If your projection says, hey, you're not going to run out of money, you're going to be fine. And then all of a sudden I say, hey, if a correction happens, you're going to run out of money at age 83. And people start going, well, I mean, I might live longer than that. Well, yeah, that's a problem. So now we got to start dialing things back or readjusting.
Isn't that happening now more than ever? Because I know my neighbors, thankfully, they're just gung-ho. They're never slowing down. They're in their later 70s, and they were outliving their savings. They're like, wow, we just didn't both this, and they're viral too. They're not just like, hey, we're just sitting in wheelchairs. These two are go-getters completely.
Vacationing everywhere.
Yeah. And they're like, wow, we're now in trouble. Now, fortunately, we were able to keep their home by doing a reverse mortgage, something you might want to think about someday.
Good.
But it
Good
is
thing to
it's
talk
a
about.
tool because they were going to lose their home or have to sell and downsize.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're at base, but they had a ton of equity, but they're like, yeah, but now I live in this little condo and stuff. They're able to use their equity because they fortunately don't have, or fortunately or not fortunate, but they're not worried about leaving the money to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So now they can live in their home as long as they want for 20 years, and they're at 70. So they're like, yeah, if we don't live, above 100, we're good.
Right. Right. Yeah. But, and I run most of my retirement projections to age 90, but even that, I have clients that are in their 70s, they're still working. They're not stopping anytime soon. They feel good. Life is good. They're traveling. So you're having to push those back. So if a big correction is going to devastate that retirement projection, that's something we need to start thinking about. And then the last person that it's super important for is I have a lot of people that come to me and they say, hey, here's this chunk of change I want to invest, but we want to buy a house with it in a couple of years, or we want to invest in a business in a couple of years, or this money is going to be our kids' college education and they go to college in the next 2 years. Anything that has a short time frame on that where you're going to need the money in the next couple of years, those people, not only should they have started out on the more conservative side of investing,
Right.
but they should be thinking about, hey, what is a correction going to do to me? Because somebody who's planning to buy a house 2 years from now, if they go into a 15, 20% correction and it eats up a bunch of that cash, that may push buying their house out to 5 years from now instead of 2 years from now. It's going to extend that. And that may be something that is really not in their plans or in their best interest.
Well, and they got to think about that. And I love that you help them with that horizon down the road, because the other thing they don't think about is, all right, we got to wait a year or two. Okay, what if in that year or two the houses go up another 50 to 100 grand, or the interest rates go up, which is even more devastating to your purchasing power than prices going up.
Right.
So now instead of you buying the $600,000 home for round numbers, you're now looking at 4.
Right.
You can't even find 4 in Santa Cruz right now.
Not at all.
So now you're moving to a whole nother area.
Right.
If you want to buy a home, or you're stuck.
Or you're stuck.
It's trapped. We've talked about that. You're trapped because you didn't purchase in time or didn't take advantage of the market when you can. We talk about that all the time on our show. Is now's the time. Please don't wait. Some people go, I'll save. Look at your options now, because maybe you didn't have to save as much as you thought.
Right.
You might be losing ground. We're finding some people are losing ground going, how much are you going to save? Oh, I'm going to save 20 more grand. Well, that home's now 50 more grand. So you lost
Right.
room.
The net result was negative for you, right?
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. All right, why don't we go to a break right now, because when we come back, I'd love you to give some specifics.
Okay, I'm going to throw some examples.
Yeah,
for
because
sure.
examples are good because it makes you visualize and hear what would happen if. And what's cool is you're given real-life examples. I like reading business books that give me real-life examples. What happened to the guy at Coca-Cola? What happened to Elon Musk? I want to hear what they did or didn't do or how it affected them. Again, if you just tuned in, I'm really excited to be here with Chris Ingram, good friend and a great financial planner. He handles mine and Gino's and a lot of our friends and family members' portfolios for a reason. He's calm, cool, collected, in the know, and he's here to make sure you're in the know on the Don and Gino Real Estate and Finance Show. Don't go away. Good stuff coming up with Chris Ingram.